Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be showcasing the most underrated core breaker in the Ultra Summer Cup, and that is Shock Drive Gensect. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Tangy Platypus, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Shock Drive Gensect has had some unbelievably good results so far in the Summer Cup. Tangy, our featured battler today, was able to make it to Veteran with the Mon, and the Gengar Life, a Twitch streamer, actually recently hit #1 in the world with Shock Drive Gensect, so it goes to show this Pokemon gets some serious results. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at Shock Drive Gensect in the Summer Cup. Hopping into game number 1, picking up a bit of an awkward lead here as Golisopod is going to be met with Unova Stunfisk. Stunfisk does win this matchup due to the fact that it does have better pacing. However, after landing the Aqua Jet, now we will see the save switch into Shock Drive Gensect. Stunfisk is going to fire off a discharge, in comes Talonflame, but Talonflame will have to immediately shield up the Techno Blast here because it will one-shot if it connects, and it does. The opponent did not check the drive on the back of the Gensect, and just like that, down goes Talonflame. X-Scissor is going to pick up the KO. Gensect cannot get farmed down by Lapras. Gensect picked up 2 KOs already just by itself and almost KOs half of a third Pokemon. And now this is a very easy game from here as XL Turtonator will hit the field. Turtonator going to be taking neutral damage from these water type attacks from the Lapras, able to shake off the Sparkling Aria and grab the first shield with Dragon Pulse. Another move reached by the Lapras. At this point, the opponent has to know there is no way they're ever getting through the 3 remaining Pokemon. They're fighting it out till the bitter end, but they're just running out of HP. Lapras will finally pick up the knockout, but there's still a full health Golisopod. In comes Golisopod, and Golisopod can very comfortably just Shadow Claw all the way down. Opponent fires off one final charge attack. They go for the Ice Beam. They get fully Shadow Claw down, and that is a good game. We move to game number 2 against an incredibly tough opponent, Philbag, who recently had the second ever undefeated regional in Pokemon Go competitive history. And it's a tough lead as well, with unfortunately Golisopod being met with Zapdos. Zapdos obviously has better pacing than Golisopod, 5-4 to Golisopod's 5-5. We're now going to see a save switch into Turtonator. Turtonator will be answered with Belly Bolt. While Belly Bolt is very bulky, so it'll be able to absorb a hit here, Belly Bolt's energy is going to be completely walled, so it appears the opponent did not have a great response to Turtonator. Turtonator more than happy to absorb that parabolic charge. That did absolutely nothing. Turtonator will now fire off a Dragon Pulse. The opponent has buffed up their defense with the Belly Bolt, but it's still not enough as Dragon Pulse will pick up the KO. Back in comes Zapdos. Zapdos, over farming so much energy. Drill Peck, I imagine, would pick up the KO here. They fire off the Drill Peck. Oh, it doesn't! The Turtonator hangs on. Fractional HP remaining, making it to the overheat and forcing the final shield from the opponent. But there is still so much energy available on this Zapdos. That's going to make life very, very tricky here. In comes the Golisopod. Golisopod, no shields. The Drill Peck lands. That's big damage. And now in comes Gensect. Gensect going to need to try and close out this game. Zapdos full sending the Thunderbolt. And in the back will be Virizion. Virizion not going to appreciate the heavy neutral damage spam from both Fury Cutter and X-Scissor. X-Scissor is going to land. It looks like this second X-Scissor will barely miss the knockout here. Not by much, but Virizion should barely be able to hang on. Virizion is doubled up, so they will get to fire off the back-to-back Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword number 1 is going to land. There was a potential catch attempt available, but deciding not to go for it. Instead, just going to bring in the Golisopod because there was residual energy. Great recognition there. Residual energy outpaces that Zapdos. Down goes Virizion, and that game will end in victory. We move to the next match, and it's a really rough lead. Golisopod staring down Gust Pidgeot. Not even a Shadow Claw thrown, just gonna save switch to the Turtonator right away. The opponent, oh my goodness, they try and CMP tie the Turtonator, and that is 20 free energy they just gave away for no reason. Turtonator will now fire off the Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse is going to grab a shield from the opponent. Opponent not going to make the same mistake twice, this time throwing on very good timing. Hydro Cannon KOs the Turtonator, but the nice thing here is it set up a shield advantage for that Gensect, and that's going to be the hope for this game, is that Gensect up a shield will be able to sweep. Swampert goes for the Sludge. Sludge, a very unimpressive attack neutrally in the Ultra League when it does not get same type attack bonus. Golisopod over farming to the max, and Aqua Jet is going to pick up the KO. Golisopod will get some valuable damage onto Pidgeot with this Aqua Jet, and then it's time for Genesect to sweep the endgame. The opponent is not switching out. It seems they do not have a great response. Genesect gonna fire off X-Scissor. While this will not knock out, it's gonna get the opponent very, very low, so the opponent will end up shielding. And now Genesect has a 1-0 shield advantage for the endgame. The Air Cutter does get shielded. In the back is Virizion once again. And this Fury Cutter X-Scissor spam is going to be very, very helpful. As Virizion, we know just how bulky it is. It has incredible bulk in the Ultra League, but even just with neutral moves, Genesect puts up a very nice fight. Genesect over farming to the max here, playing to the CMP tie. X-Scissor to the Virizion, picks up the KO. Back in comes Pidgeot. Pidgeot, realizing that it cannot afford to let an X-Scissor land, will fire off the Air Cutter. Air Cutter gets the boost, but it does not matter. The extra energy on Golisopod will seal this win. Aqua Jet KOs Pidgeot, and off a terrible lead and counter swap, that game will still be a win. Very familiar lead in the next match, Golisopod once again staring down Unova Stunfisk. Last Stunfisk ended up over-farming. This time, they're just playing to charge attack priority. Honestly, this works out pretty nicely because Discharge is an incredibly mediocre move. So as the Golisopod, you can safely no-shield this and then send in the Genesect for free. Genesect farming up quite a bit of energy. The opponent gonna stay in and get some chip damage with a Mud Bomb. We do see the shield. Oh, they actually go for a Discharge. That is a misplay as Mud Bomb does do more damage neutrally. Genesect overfarmed quite a bit, now just looking to get rid of the Stunfisk. Stunfisk is going to let it go, and out comes Scizor. Scizor going to be immediately put on the defensive by this Electro Techno Blast. That would destroy them, so they will commit the shield. Look at the Fury Cutters. They are absolutely melting Scizor. This X-Scissor will not KO, but it's going to remove most of their health. They end up shielding. The Scizor is now below half HP just off resisted Fury Cutter fast moves. My goodness. Night Slash will finally KO. But this poor Scizor is about to get Turtonated. In comes Turtonator. It's going to be Credilli in the back, and Credilli's about to get absolutely shredded by a neutral Overheat. Overheat is going to land. That's big damage. In comes Golisopod. This is going to force the opponent's hand. They need to fire off a Rock Tomb to pick up the KO, but now in comes Turtonator. For Turtonator now, the win con is very clear. Shield up the super effective Rock Tomb, and then just farm all the way down. They can't make another. The Overheat is ready. This is a -1 Overheat, and it's still going to absolutely obliterate Shadow Scizor. Scizor Night Slashes on the CMP tie. Even a second Night Slash would not KO from this health range. And now it's time. It may be -1, but that's still good night, Scizor. And that game is over. Tricky lead in the next match, Golisopod versus Lapras. Even if Lapras does not have Skull Bash, Lapras' ability to just eat X-Scissor after X-Scissor makes this matchup very awkward for the Golisopod. Golisopod will strike first with the X-Scissor. Very nice timing by the opponent. Do they have Skull Bash? This is the moment of truth. They do not. It's just the Sparkling Aria. Opponent save switches at a Tentacruel. That's going to get chipped with an Aqua Jet. My guess is that the Shock Techno Blast barely does not one-shot. But to make the matchup very clean, an Aqua Jet plus the Fury Cutters will guarantee that it will pick up the KO. The opponent will go for the Scald. That's not a problem, but the Scald debuff might be. And now Genesect gets the Unleashed Techno Blast. It's -1. Will it still KO here? Oh, it does! Oh my goodness, I was doubting. It still does KO. Genesect will make it to an X-Scissor. How well does the opponent know Genesect counts? Not well enough, as they put up a shield on a -1 X-Scissor, and that ends up being a CMP die as well. Golisopod still does have a little bit of stored energy, and obviously there's the full health Turtonator. In comes the Golisopod. This X-Scissor not going to be enough to pick up the knockout, but it will get the opponent low into potential Incinerate downrange for Turtonator. It's Roserade in the back. This poor opponent, it doesn't matter what Roserade has. Turtonator does not care. They throw a double resisted Leaf Storm. Turtonator farms down. And yeah, I cannot blame them for resigning the match there, as their Roserade just could absolutely do nothing. We have a mirror match in the next game, Shadowclaw Golisopod versus Shadowclaw Golisopod. 2 X-Scissors and 10 Shadow Claws do not KO Golisopod in the mirror, so you're either going to see a CMP tie on the second move, leaving both Mons low and an immediate pivot out, or you can go for a catch here since the opponent is very likely to undertap, and that's exactly what we see. Nice X-Scissor catch onto the Genesect, but disaster strikes! Genesect answered with a Typhlosion, and unfortunately Genesect has finally been hard punished. But speaking of hard punishes, their energy is about to go nowhere because Turtonator hits the field. It's a bit odd that Gensect obviously got completely destroyed by the Typhlosion, but now it's Typhlosion's turn to get destroyed by Turtonator. Turtonator Dragon Pulse is going to be shielded, so the opponent clearly wants damage on the Turtonator. Everything's double resisted, but I actually don't mind the shield just because it's clear that something in the back has an issue with the Turtonator. They bring back in the Golisopod. They make a catch onto Credilli, so Credilli able to absorb the Dragon Pulse, but now the Golisopod energy from earlier is going to be a big problem for the opponent. X-Scissor lands, that's big damage. They're going to try and make the move. They do, but this is just going to set up the perfect Incinerate farm down for Turtonator. I believe 2 Incinerates will KO here, which means the opponent who's on Bullet Seed, they're, oh, it doesn't. It doesn't. The opponent surviving on 1 HP messes everything up. They shield, they get KO'd through the shield because even a shielded charge move does 1 HP of damage. Then they panic throw on alignment thinking that the Turtonator was at a move. It was not. What a chaotic end to a game, but the important thing is, it's a win. Bad lead in the next match, Golisopod versus Belly Bolt. Honestly, don't mind staying in here to get some chip damage with the Golisopod before we see a switch out. Golisopod fires off the Aqua Jet. That's going to be no shielded. There's the safe switch into Turtonator. Opponent should be banking all of this energy, but they stay into throw. That's very confusing because everything they throw here is going to be walled. They end up throwing a move that does not do a lot of damage. They switch out of their defense boost and they end up bringing in Skeledirge. I guess Skeledirge has a very poor matchup here as well. We will see the Shadow Ball shield. The opponent is going to full send, and that's kind of the idea, is the Parabolic puts it into a range where Shadow Ball could KO, but I still think they probably could have been okay just by getting that damage with the Sucker Punches and saving that energy for later. We will see a very nice catch, catching the Shadow Ball. That's going to be answered with Victory Bell, but Victory Bell will take some pretty significant damage from X-Scissor. It's survivable, but it's going to hurt. Victory Bell will exit with a lot of energy. In comes the Gensect, and Gensect just completely walls this. Victory Bell, such a threat in this cup, but here, unfortunately, a pretty big liability as all this energy is not going to go very far into the Bug Steel type Gensect. Leaf Blade number 2 lands, a big farm down available. Back in comes the Skeledirge, answered with the Turtonator, and Turtonator will get to the Dragon Pulse. Very nice job making sure the Incinerate landed on the Turtonator instead of landing on the Gensect. Back in comes the Belly Bolt. Belly Bolt will finally fire off its energy from much earlier in the game. They Parabolic Charge. It does not KO, but they will get the farm down. In comes Gensect. Gensect winning charge attack priority. And now can Gensect make it to the move? It's going to be close. Do they survive it? Incinerate, and they don't need to. They were close enough that the X-Scissor is reached. It's double resisted. It still KOs the Gensect clutch. Wow, what a game. We move to the next match. Very good lead. Golisopod versus Talonflame on Shadowclaw. Golisopod going to do very nicely here as long as shields are in play, because for Golisopod, the only thing that matters is Shadowclawing it into a range where your Aqua Jet will actually knock out. So the Aqua Jet is going to be shielded. Golisopod more than happy to commit 1 shield and then look to put that pressure back onto the opponent. The opponent get a safe switch into Credilli. Credilli instantly chipped here with an X-Scissor. Opponent will always be no shielding because they would rather take the damage on the Credilli than take the damage on the Talonflame. Credilli will get to apply a debuff with the Rock Tomb. I'm a bit surprised to see so many Bullet Seed Credillis. In my sets, I've primarily only seen Acid Credilli. That's a really nice overfarm and a CMP tie here by our battler Tangy Platypus, maximizing the energy gains to try and exit close to an Electric Technoblast for the Talonflame. It's -1, but it's not gonna matter. Opponent does end up shielding. Oh, that is heartbreaking. But now they're going to get answered with Turtonator. They blind through, so this very well could be a fly, and it is. And Turtonator, not worried about a fly whatsoever. It's Gastrodon in the back. The move is banked on the Turtonator for later, and it's up to Golisopod to take home the win by eliminating the final threat to Turtonator, Gastrodon. Aqua Jet is going to land. Opponent, if they go for an Earth Power, it's going to do more. It might knock out here, but no, the Body Slam call. The opponent not seeing the win condition, and now this is just over. Aqua Jet does too much damage. The opponent is going to farm down, but all that's going to do is just give the free Incinerate to the Turtonator. Turtonator shields up the Earth Power, and then has the move loaded to KO the Talonflame. Talonflame got denied on Bring In there. Dragon Pulse, does this actually knock out? It does not. Oh no, Talonflame gets a move. Oh man, is this the Brave Bird? It is, and the game ends at a loss. I respected the damage of Dragon Pulse too much. Oh, that is such a heartbreaking defeat. Hopping into the final match, and it's a bad lead, Galisapod versus Tentacruel. The safe switch into Shock Drive Gensect. Gensect will barely get outpaced here as they fire off the Scald. Scald does not get the debuff, the opponent not switching out. Have they seen the drive on Genesect's back here? Electric Technoblast nearly with the one-shot. Out comes Pidgeot, and Pidgeot's going to have to commit the shield. They just lost their entire Tentacruel, barring a few health points. They're forced to shield up the Pidgeot. Unfortunately, you can't bring in the Galisapod here, so it's going to need to be Turtonator. Turtonator going to no shield, hoping that it's not the Brave Bird. Opponent does go for a Feather Dance. Oh my goodness. Feather Dance. -2 attack now on this Turtonator, which means this Turtonator is not going to be doing basically anything. The fact that they showed Feather Dance means it should be Feather Dance Brave Bird, so now we will see the shield from the Turtonator. Turtonator does get the call right. It's the Brave Bird. It's a Shadow Zapdos in the back. This is a heavily debuffed Turtonator, but Overheat is a great move. Overheat is going to land. In comes the Galisapod. The opponent with 2 Pokemon weak to Electric, and the third in Zapdos, also not a big fan of electric moves. Galisapod will get that full farm down. In comes the Pidgeot. Pidgeot immediately chipped now with the Aqua Jet. This will just KO, so they're forced to commit the shield. It's going to be a race to the charge attack, but Feather Dance is so slow. That is the downside of that move. Aqua Jet is going to knock out. All that's left is shreds of Tentacruel, and that's one final win and the veteran rank achieved as well. All in all, these were some highly entertaining battles, so many thanks to Tangy Platypus for sending in this footage. This is a Pokemon that was on my radar at the start of the meta, but unfortunately, when I took a look at my account, it turns out I had every Drive of Genesect except the electric one. And the unfortunate thing about Genesect is it's not a tradable Pokemon, so it was just never a Pokemon that I could ever use in this meta, so I was very much reliant on someone sending in the footage. So many thanks to Tangy for sending in the footage, because I think this is probably the best current core breaker right now. It does so well into the teams that are weak to Fury Cutter, and a lot of those teams that are weak to Fury Cutter, they cover that Fury Cutter weakness with Pokemon like Jellicent and Tentacruel, which obviously you have really nice play into if you have electric type Technoblast. So if you do have this Pokemon, I think it's a great Pokemon to use for this meta. It's definitely gone under the radar, but with the Gengar Life hitting rank 1 in the world with this Pokemon, and Tangy making it to veteran and leaderboards as well, it shows for those who do have this Pokemon, it is producing unbelievably good results. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.